Here are some words for your meditation time by Beatty Griffiths. I can say that eternal world is like the light of the sun, in which all the colors of the rainbow are present and in which each retains its own distinctive character. Or I can say that it is like a symphony in which all the notes are heard in a single perfect harmony, but in which each has its own particular time and place. Or I can say that it is like a multitude of thoughts gathered together in one single mind, which comprehends them in a single idea embracing all. Or going deeper, I can say that it is like a communion of persons in love, in which each person understands the other and is one with the other. I in them and thou in me, that they may become perfectly one. This is as far as human words can go.
Sing to the Lord a new song, for God has done marvelous things. God's right hand and God's holy arm have gotten God victory. God has made known God's victory. God has revealed God's vindication in the sight of the nations. God has remembered God's steadfast love and faithfulness to the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the victory of our God.
Sing to our God a new song. Feel the beat of the Spirit moving along.
Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Break forth into joyous song and sing praises. Sing praises to the Lord with the lyre and the sound of melody, with trumpets and the sound of the horn. Make a joyful noise before the King, the Lord.
Sing to our God a new song. Feel the beat of the Spirit moving along.
Let the sea roar and all that fills it, and the world and those who live in it. Let the floods clap their hands. Let the hills sing together for joy in the presence of God. For God is coming to judge the earth. God will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with equity.
Sing to our God a new
A Prayer for Mother's Day, adapted by Heidi Carrington Heath and originally written by Amy Young.
I want you to know that I'm praying for you if you are like Tamar, struggling with infertility or a miscarriage.
I want you to know that I'm praying for you if you are like Rachel, counting the women among your family and friends who year by year and month by month get pregnant while you wait.
I want you to know I'm praying for you if you are like Naomi and have known the bitter sting of a child's death.
I want you to know I am praying for you if you are like Joseph and Benjamin and your mom has died.
I want you to know that I am praying for you if your relationship with your mom was marked by trauma, abuse, or abandonment, or she just couldn't parent you the way you needed.
I want you to know I am praying for you if you've been like Moses' mother and put a child up for adoption, trusting another family to love your child into adulthood.
I want you to know I am praying for you if you've been like Pharaoh's daughter, called to love children who are not yours by birth, and thus the mother who brought that child into your life, even if it is complicated.
I want you to know I am praying for you if you, like many, are watching or have watched your mother age and disappear into the long goodbye of dementia.
I want you to know that I am praying for you if you, like Mary, are pregnant for the very first time and waiting breathlessly for the miracle of your first child.
I want you to know that I am praying for you if your children have turned away from you, painfully closing the door on relationship, leaving you holding your broken heart in your hands. And like Hagar, now you are mothering alone.
I want you to know that I am praying for you if your motherhood is your greatest joy and toughest struggle all rolled into one.
I want you to know that I am praying for you if you are watching your child battle substance abuse, a public legal situation, mental illness, or any other situation which you can merely watch unfold.
I want you to know that I am praying for you if you, like so many women before you, do not wish to be a mother, are not married, or in so many other ways do not fit into societal norms.
I want you to know that I am praying for you if you see yourself reflected in all or none of these stories. This Mother's Day, wherever and whoever you are, we walk with you. You are loved. You are seen. You are worthy. And may you know the deep love without end of our big, wild, beautiful God, who is the very best example of a parent that we know.
Amen.
Our gospel lesson comes from the Gospel according to John, chapter 15, verses 9 to 17. As the Holy Parent, my mother, my father, my Creator, has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my parents' commandments, my mother, my father, my Creator's commandments, and I abide in their love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be complete in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down their life for their friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you to do. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant doesn't know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Creator. You did not choose me, I chose you. And I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last, so that the Holy One will give you whatever you ask in my name. I am giving you these commandments so that you love one another. Just a couple little things for you to ponder in this. There's so much here to think about, but one, the word abide, which really means to dwell in. And I like to think of it as to dwell in as everything in us dwells inside of our skin. It holds us together. So Christ's love, God's love, holds us together such that we would not be able to function without it. And we don't really function very well without it, do we? I mean, think about where our lack of love for one another has taken us. The other thing is that there is a reason why Jesus is saying this. He is saying this because he wants his joy, Christ's joy, to become complete in us, to fulfill its duty in us, and for our joy to become complete. So this is not about us kind of moping around, although I'll tell you what, with depression, that's a little different story. We're not talking an antidepressant here. We are talking a rich, deep, meaningful life. A life that is worthy of value, maybe even worthy of excitement and joy and gratitude and all of those things that that we often lose track of when we are instead having made complete in us our goals for financial, not stability, but financial gain and worldly power. Oh boy, we love our power, don't we? So that's the other one. And then I have two more for you. Jesus says, I don't call you servants. Instead, I am going to call you friends. It's not a sappy kind of thing. Sometimes, we hear, we're friends with God and Jesus is my friend. And there's that, I don't know if you remember that Sunseed song. Do you remember that Sunseed song from, I think, the 70s or 80s? And they're singing, Jesus is a friend of mine. It's a really silly song. If you remember that song, I think it's actually a joke, but it's pretty funny. Not that kind of friendship. This is the kind of friendship, by the way, that he already talked about. A friendship with this great love that would lay one's life down for one's friends. A friendship that would sacrifice for one another. Not just because there's anything particularly wrong with each one of us, but because we need to be connected. We are in a world that is very disconnected, whether it's from the internet or from financial insecurity or racism or sexism or homophobia or depression or dark nights of the soul or self-hatred or addiction, whatever it is, war, goodness, famine, all of those ways that we end up stuck in our amygdala, which is our lizard brain. And it keeps us into this state of fight or flight or freeze or submit or one of those states that is a survival state. So we need to be connecting with one another. That's what this is about. That's what the whole friendship thing is about. That's what the whole joy complete is about. That's what the abiding thing is about. That's what the body of Christ is about. It's not about keeping people out or telling people that they're no good because of whatever it is that they think or believe or do. It's not about that. It's about this love that can, instead of keeping us isolated and alone and in a position where the only kind of stronghold we have is our own fear, instead of that, we can reach out our hand and find somebody else's hand there. We can connect so that we're not going to be stuck out in an island somewhere by ourselves, which may sound good, but not that kind of an island of shame or self-hate or disgust, anger, fear when we can't see other people around us. That's like about the worst thing that I can imagine. But the antidote to that is this thing Jesus calls love, this thing Jesus calls friendship, this activity of abiding in that love. And the last note that I want to point out to you is that Jesus says here, "You didn't choose me, I chose you." Now think about this for a second. Who in their right mind is going to choose Jesus if Jesus didn't choose them already? Who is going to sit there and look at Jesus's, checklist of, this is what a Messiah does. We are going to sell all of our belongings, give them to the poor. We are going to be traveling a lot by foot. We are going to probably be spit at and yelled at and told to get out of town. We might be run out of town. We're going to have to hang out with people with really bad diseases. We're going to be hanging out with people who are hungry, and we're going to have to feed them, and we're going to have to stand up for those people. We're going to have to stand up against crowds of people with giant rocks that are about ready to stone someone, and we're going to have to stand in between them and be like, "Hey, you guys, why are you doing this for? Like, who hasn't committed this sin before?" Or whatever scary thing that it might be to have to confront that kind of mob. We're going to be doing it because that's what Jesus does. So, like, I am not so sure that I would want to follow that kind of a Messiah or that person, or I would choose that person in my life. But Jesus doesn't ask us to choose that way of life. Jesus chooses us. And because Jesus chose us first, then we have that sense of love and excitement and curiosity and, golly, I'm not as bad as I thought I was, or he seems to like me and he seems to want to hang out with me, or well, you know what, maybe it's not so scary. I mean, I'm looking at Jesus going up to this woman at the well who has been married many, many times. I see him going up and talking with her, and I see him talking with that tax collector. I see him going up to that leper, that person with leprosy, and maybe I can do it too. And so that's how this whole love thing works, right? There's that song, "Oh, How I Love Jesus, oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus, oh, how I love Jesus." You know the next part? "Because he first loved me." And that, my friends, is our message for today.
Mother's Day Proclamation, 1870, Boston. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether your baptism be that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We women of one country will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence indicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of counsel. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, each learning after his time the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general Congress of women, without limit of nationality, may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient and at the earliest period consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. Julia Ward Howe.
Faith of our mothers, holy still, we would be true to thee till death. Here is a blessing by the Reverend Jan Richardson. It is titled, Blessing That Meets You in Love. It is true that every blessing begins with love. That whatever else it might say, love is always precisely the point. But it should be noted that this blessing has come today especially to tell you it is crazy about you. That it has been in love with you forever. That it has never not wanted to see your face, to go through this world in your company. This blessing thought it was high time it told you so, just to make sure you know. If it has been shy in saying this, it has not been for any lack of wanting to. It's just that this blessing knows the risk of offering itself in a way that will so alter you. Not because it thinks you could stand some improving, but because this is simply where loving leads. This blessing knows how love undoes us, unhinges us, unhides us. It knows how loving can sometimes feel like dying. But today, this blessing has come to tell you the secret that sends it to your door, that it gives itself only to those willing to come alive, that it vows itself only to those ready to be born anew.